Hello and welcome back to What the Key. Thanks for tuning back in, and welcome to anyone new who's just tuning in for the first time. Today's video is going to be a little bit different from my normal sound test videos in the sense that instead of just hearing the sound test, I'm going to go over the keyboard and the switch in a little bit more depth, but kind of in an informal way. So hopefully this is something that you find useful and enjoy. So today's video is going to highlight yet again the sound profile of the Akko CS Jelly Blacks right here on one of the first mechanical keyboards I ever purchased, the Keychron K6 right here. I made some mods of this board and I'm going to go over that in just a second. But just for recap, for those that don't already know, the Akko CS Jelly Blacks are a relatively low budget switch that punches above its weight, featuring a pretty smooth feel and a really clean sound profile. If you want to jump to the sound test, go ahead and jump to the end. The Akko CS Jelly Blacks definitely get a plus for packaging and presentation. And let me just show you what I'm talking about. So recently I purchased 90 Koski DST1 silent tactile switches for about $60, and this is how they came in. They came in a bag, right? This is typically how switches are shipped. They're in a bag or just it's not a great experience, which I get. They're switches. The Akko CS Jelly Blacks, on the other hand, they give you a completely different experience. For almost half the cost, they give you 45 switches. So these right now are on Amazon for $16.99. And so for basically half the cost of these are $60 for a bag of 90. These are $17 for a pack of 45. But just look at the packaging. Like, the packaging is just night and day. So you get a nice cover, you get a nice box to hold the switches in, and each of the switches are in their own, individual, slot here, or whatever you want to call these, in a box. That's super nice. And if you really want to use these as a lube station, you can, I guess. But it's just, I love the effort, especially for half the cost. That's amazing. Moving on to the keyboard. So the Keychron K6, when it first released, it was considered a pretty decent starter board if you're just dipping your toes in the world of custom mechanical keyboards and wanted the ability to switch between mechanical switches, try out different switches without having to buy a new keyboard or having to open up and solder or desolder and resolder all the switches. That's incredibly annoying. So when I first got the K6, I totally thought it was endgame for me. It was hot swap, featured RGB, and overall it felt really good. To me, Bluetooth was something I didn't really care about, but it's just a nice feature that they packed into this keyboard, and I haven't really had any issues with that. Anyways, I really didn't know if I needed anything else beyond this when I first got it, which honestly could still be the case for those who are interested in just getting the K6. I think there might be some better options out there, but if you already have it, if you're willing to just do some mods to it and don't really care about VIA support, this doesn't support VIA right now. I don't think it ever will, actually. You can run the board stock and still like it. But if you're like me, you really like to tweak and modify your board. So I'm going to just talk you through some of the mods I went through with this board, which I think helps maximize its full potential. So let's talk about the K6 stock. So one of the things I first noticed about the K6 when I first got it, or a little bit afterwards, was that it produced a pretty thin sound profile. It was like higher in pitch and lacked kind of like a depth of sound, if you know what I'm saying, in terms of like lower end frequency. So in other words, the board sounded a little bit thin. I did try a few things over time, like the Tempest mod, adding tape to the bottom of the PCB, foaming the bottom of the board with some PE foam. I added some polyfill in between, see if that helped. Even with all that, it still sounded a little thin. So in this video, I'm going to go over a couple of other things that I did to them. One of the things that I ended up doing was actually doing a silicone pour on this board to see if it helped with the pinginess, and that did help. And so the what I used was just something on Amazon. I think these are like 14 bucks, maybe even less. I don't know if you can see it, but this one's called Let's Resin silicone rubber, and so they ship 2 bottles, so they're equal parts mixed. So there's a part A, part B. All you have to do is just basically mix the amount you want, to pour at the bottom of your case, which is what I did. I poured a pretty thin layer. Basically, you just mix part A, 1 portion, and then 1 part portion B, so equal ratio, and you just mix that for like 5 minutes until it's like really well mixed, and then you let it pour. So I just opened up, this board, and poured basically around the battery, and kind of avoided this side where the sliders are to switch between Bluetooth, Mac, or wired or off or what have you. And I actually think it did help a little bit. It sounded a little bit better, but I think what the problem was that there's a space between the plate and the PCB. And so to fill that gap, I ended up doing a PCB, adding a switch foam between the PCB and the plate. And I bought these from Divini Key. I think they were like 20 bucks. And so they basically give you, I think 4 or 5 sheets. And so, these are the individual foam pads on these. And they, so they come in either 1 foam pad at a time, or they have 3 or 5 or 4, and just open up the board, unscrew the PCB from the plate, and then you just add these just right between, basically on the PCB, between the plate and the PCB. I don't know, that sounded weird when I said it. Anyways, I think you get the point. So if you jump to the sound test, which I'm going to put on the screen right now. So you'll notice a significant improvement in controlling for the higher pitched sounds. It's a lot cleaner without as much resonance. It has a bit of a lower tone to it, and adding the silicone actually adds a little bit to the weight. So the board does have like a more premium feel. So here's the thing. It's only totally worth the investment if, you are like me and you want to tweak your board and kind of just bring out the full potential. If you don't have the K6 already, I think there are quite a few boards today, May 2022, that that will give you more, basically, for the same cost of the K6, or it's not that much more and you get a much better keyboard, in my opinion. If you just start from scratch and already have a K6 and you want to make mods to it, those are the actual mods that I would recommend. So on this board right now, it does have the Tempest mod. There is still polyfill in it, but we added the silicone pour and the switch foam from DiviniKey. So I guess that's the whole video. If you have a Keychron K6 and you want to make some modifications, upgrades to it, you want to give it a second life, those are some of the mods I recommend. If you have any questions about the silicone pour or even the switch foam, go ahead and put that in the comments. I will try to get to them as much as I can. Concerning the keycaps, these are from Epo Maker Mars. They are clones. Controversial, but I'm not going to go there. It's a great keycap. I like them. Great sound profile overall with everything put together. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you want to see more videos like this, put it in the comments. If you want me to just go back to sound tests, go ahead and do that. Let me know. All right, thanks all.